the podcast where we navigate life's thorny moments involving identity, culture, music, and the pursuit of joy. Welcome back. And if you're new, welcome. I am so happy to have you here on this cloudy but marvelous day. You might notice something different. You're not going to notice if you're listening, but you're definitely going to notice if you are on YouTube, because we have a YouTube channel. And I'm trying to get really used to looking into the camera. And also, if you see me look off, I'm looking at my notes. So we're getting used to it, guys. But I am very excited to talk today. Well, I guess I'm not super excited to talk today about today's topic, because today's topic is... y'all really out here hating on black women still. It's so goofy. You look stupid. And we're gonna get into that today on Thorn and Thistle. So before we get into that, you guys know we're gonna get into the bramble. Let's go. Hello. Welcome to the Bramble. This is the segment of the show where I ramble about anything that's on my mind, and let's just get started because I have a few notes. Let's go. First of all, you might notice something. Okay, my hair has not had this flippity flop. If you're not watching on YouTube, you should probably just click into YouTube so that you can see. But I did a wash and go on my 4C hair for the first time, and girls and guys and gays and thems and theirs got folk. I did not know that I could do a wash and go on my 4C hair. I was told lies for the entirety of my life that my 4C hair did not accept wash and goes. Also, not sponsored, but these Spindrift half and half Arnold Palmer sparkling waters, you should get them. They're delicious. But anyway, wash and go. Guys, I didn't know that we could do this. I didn't know we had that capability. I just felt like, I don't know, I have hair that I've always felt like was so hard to manage. And lately, I've just kind of been leaving it alone. I put it in twists pretty much all the time. I mean, I'm the definition of a lazy natural. I put my hair in I don't even really section it for real. It's very sloppy twist. Just 2 strand twists all over my head. Maybe 6 or 7 of them. I put a scarf on and I live my life that way. I'm always, you can see me, the picture for this podcast is me in a scarf for that exact reason. I'm always wearing a scarf because I never want to do my hair. And so I always thought that if I did a wash and go, my hair would just immediately suck up the water and turn into this dry, crispity crisp sort of thing, and that's just not what happened. I really wanted to have my hair out for this vodcast, so especially since this is the inaugural YouTube christening of the podcast, I wanted to maybe put some makeup on, maybe look a little bit nice or whatever. So if you're listening on the other platform, please listen to that on the other platform all the way through for the analytics, but also maybe click onto YouTube and watch that too. Let it run while you're doing something else, just so you can support your girl. Anyway, I was dumb. I was misled, I was misguided, I was misinformed, and if you are a 4C hair person out there, you know the struggle of doing your hair when there's nobody, even the natural hair YouTube community of people who do hair on YouTube, even they don't really talk about 4C hair enough. There aren't a lot of people. One of my favorite people right now, I always love Nappy Foo on YouTube, and Star Puppy on YouTube. I love them both. They both are very different content creators, but they both have real, actual 4C hair, unlike some of these posers out here in the streets. And guys, yes, I've had a lot of caffeine this morning, but they have real 4C hair, and they really and they really give us a lot of content about that, but for a long time, there was nothing, right? So how was I supposed to know that I could do a wash and go and my hair would have this bounce to it, this Wait, guys, I just if you can't see if you're listening on a podcast platform, but if you're watching on YouTube, oh my god, like I am shaking my hair like a dog after a bath. Okay, anyway, all I want to say is the wash and go lifestyle. I'm on board. I'm on board. I've used like water. I rinse my hair in the shower, and I put some Shea Moisture, what's it called? Like detangling spray on my hair, and then I put the tried, the true, the faithful Blue Magic castor oil and shea butter grease on my hair, and y'all, my hair is thriving. Next. So, another thing I've been really into these days is talking about financial literacy and personal finance. I am a nerd. I don't know if you guys know this about me yet. You will in future episodes. We're going to talk about it. We're going to explore. I'm going to get you guys to understand why K-pop is relevant to to societal issues in this world and systemic colorism and all these other things. I'm gonna talk to you about the intersectionality of anime. We're gonna get there, but right now we're just laying the foundation. We're working our way up. So I just, when I get into something, maybe it's the ADHD, but I hyperfixate on whatever that thing is. These days I'm totally hyperfixating over personal finance. And if you know me, you know that I am literally the worst at math. So I don't know why all of a sudden I got into finance, but here's the catalyst. I mean, this is what happened that made me start nerding out about my own personal finances. I started to budget. I have a bunch of budgeting apps now. I'm like really kind of anal retentive now about my personal finances, about my income, about like maximizing optimizing my way of life. So I'm no longer living paycheck to paycheck, because that's what I'm doing, because the cost of living in Michigan is way too high. It's ridiculous for the wage. Anyway, so here's what happened that led me to this point. I was, and I'm gonna do an entire episode about personal finance, hopefully soon, so keep your eyes peeled. But basically, I realized I spent $300 alone in just June on Uber Eats. We're gonna let that simmer for a second. $300 on Uber Eats in 1 month for one person. So I was pretty ashamed of myself, to say the least. That does not even include the extra money I spent on groceries that went bad because I didn't cook, because I was eating. I basically ate out every day, and I don't have that kind of money. I don't have $300 on Uber Eats kind of money. I don't know who really has that kind of money. You really should not be spending your money like that. And that is why I was like, I gotta get it together. Basically, I was like, I can't ask my parents for money every time something like this happens. I can't be irresponsible. I've been mostly financially independent for the past like 4 or 5 years, and I really like being financially independent. And my parents are kind of stingy, so like, and by that I mean they want me to be independent too. I know you're watching, Dad. So, you know what? They're not stingy. They want to build my character, and so they won't give me money, which is fine. I don't want it, really. I do want to be financially independent. So we're going to have an entire episode about that. Hopefully I can get a cool, awesome guest on that episode next. This is the last thing. I'm just going to say that like for the next few episodes, they're going to be solo episodes because I have a lot of plans. I have a lot of people that I want to reach out to maybe have guests on the show, talk about a bunch of different things, but I really want to get the right guest on the show to do that. And so I have like a bunch of moving parts going on. I'm sending out a bunch of emails right now, and planning and scheduling is a bit of an issue. So it's going to be a bit of time, maybe a month or so, maybe a few weeks. It's not entirely clear how long, but definitely for the next couple of weeks or so, it's just going to be me. So I hope you don't get tired of me. Don't get tired of me. Get comfortable with this face because you're going to be seeing it. Get comfortable with this luxurious voice because you're going to be hearing it in your ears for the next few weeks alone. That is all for the ramble. Now on to the show. I'm mad because racism, sexism, patriarchy, misogyny, and colorism at the same damn time. That is a quote from Imani Cezanne. There is an emotion that permeates the lives of Black women in America that is difficult to describe. It is a discomfort that is hard to place because its source is not one, but many. As a Black woman, I find myself constantly angry. To be a Black woman in America is to sit at a crossroads of compounded marginalization and systematic oppression whilst being expected to be agreeable and nice. And it is exhausting. I am taught not to show my teeth, as my mother says, at a leering stranger because it may spark something in men, whatever that means. Simultaneously, I attend a university that lures students of color, particularly Black students, to their campus with tales of opportunity, only to realize that Black students are to be seen on a diversity pamphlet and unheard as we watch our painful histories be quietly buried beneath the foundation of this institution. To be a Black woman is an extremely complicated and nuanced process of decision making when, where, how, and why you're going to hide away your anger / disdain / annoyance / frustration / identity in favor of respectability. Not only are Black women expected to resist the stereotypes that befall Black people as a whole, lazy, rude, angry, sexually unrestrained, etc., but also those rules of femininity that encompass women. Don't be too loud, don't take up too much space, be polite enough not to refuse a man's sexual advances, but if you enjoy sex, you're a slut, and so forth and so on. Those together make up an entirely new and sinister cocktail of oppression. Roxane Gay writes on the expectation of respectability in an essay from her book, Bad Feminist, titled The Politics of Respectability. Quote, "We should be Black, but not too Black," Gay writes. "Neither too ratchet nor too bougie. The standards society hold Blackness to insinuate that to be respected, we must be palatable to an implied white ideal without forgetting that we can never live up to the white ideal." And so we have the Black woman, an acrobat when it comes to bending over backwards to fit into these expectations. Don't be too loud. Don't be too angry. Don't be too Black. Don't be too woman. Black women are constantly told to put aside our womanness or our Blackness at any given moment for the greater cause, as if we can change our focus of experience like a pair of sunglasses. And still, Black women do the work. And yes, Black women are angry. I am angry and frustrated and disappointed because I exist in a society that tells me my anger is unwarranted, that I must not be following the rules of Blackness or femininity correctly. Society says it's my fault and that I should just calm down. Stop being angry about racism, sexism, patriarchy, misogyny, and colorism and just get over it. I wholeheartedly rebuke that noise. It's time that the angry Black woman, TM, was unapologetically angry. That is an excerpt from an article, well, that is a abridged version of an article that I wrote for my blog. I wrote this a couple of years ago, and it was titled Black Women, Sexism, and the Art of the It was titled Black Women Likeability and the Art of Misogynoir. And the full article I'll link below in the show notes, but it's something that I wrote when I was so pissed off, honestly. I worked in a dorm when I was at undergrad, and at that institution, just that stupid racist school. That school was so hard for me to get through. By the time I graduated, I was like, thank you. And it was so annoying because it was super frustrating for me because every time I had a complaint about something race related in this atmosphere, it was pretty much either completely ignored or by people just being too. A lot of the white faculty and other colleagues and classmates of mine were not interested in having that conversation about the racist things that were going on within the school. They weren't interested in making any changes on their own part. They weren't really interested in speaking up. And so my voice was like, oh, there goes Myah. like, and they're like, that's how it felt for me. It felt like people were just looking at me like, oh, there she goes again. Because I would say things like how one of my professors for a vocal literature class told me that she wanted us all to incorporate our culture into this. We did this recital on, I don't know, a very popular female composer, a white female composer, and we were going to do this recital at the end of this vocal literature class on this woman, and she was like, I really want us all to bring in our culture to this performance. And it was very confusing because the composer was alive in the late 1800s or like mid to late 1800s, right? And like, so why would I was confused because then she turned to the Chinese girl that was Chinese exchange student in the class, and she was like you could wear your traditional dress. And then she turns to me and this other girl. We're both two Black American, slave Black. Our ancestors were slaves in the field, Black people, and she's like, and you guys can bring in your African culture. And I'm like, what? And I was in the class, I was like, guys, am I the only person who hear this? Me and the other Black girl were like, what? Like we were confused, and I brought this up to my classmates and they just like dipped. Like they were like, oh, that's uncomfortable. I don't want to go there. So that was another thing. And I was just pissed all the time and I hated that place. Anyway, we can have a conversation about my undergrad another day if you want me to. Just let me know. Hit me up in the comments. Hit me up on Instagram. I love to talk smack about that institution. I mean, I love that I got a degree, but let me tell you, child, it was not easy to get through that mentally and emotionally. Anyway, but that's one of the things that Black women are called to do. We're called to just be okay. Everybody's like, people come to me for comfort. People come to me for advice. People come to me when they want to understand their own racism. People come to me when they want to talk to somebody who will talk to them in a soothing voice about why racism is wrong. It's really frustrating for me because I'm so angry. I had this one boy who I worked with in the dorms. I worked at a desk. One of my coworkers was talking to me about how he was taking this diversity class on campus, and he's a white man, white straight cis man, and he was like, yeah, I'm just like taking this diversity class and like I just didn't know any of this stuff was racist. And that's how he talks. And like if he's watching this, I'm sorry, like you're a nice guy, I guess, but like this was really annoying to me. He told me that his brother was very liberal and that his brother would come home and yell at him and his family about how like they were being racist, they were being tone deaf and all this other stuff. And he was like, I just like the way that you say things because like you have such a great bedside manner. And the only difference was like, I was just like, look, man, like the reason your brother is saying this is because like, that's racist. And he was like, what? And it's not like I did something different. I wasn't angry. I didn't appear angry because that would have made him uncomfortable and then he couldn't hear me. And so I have to talk to white people, like Black people in general. We always have to have like our code switching meters on. Some people choose not to code switch, but there are risks involved with that. If you don't code switch when you're talking to white people about race and about oppression and systemic issues, then you risk the chance of them just not hearing you at all. And with Black women, the misogynoir I talk about in the article is all about how, like, when we have issues, like, say, for instance, colorism within the Black community. Let's talk about that. Black men don't. The title of this episode, as you can see from the title, is called This Is Not a Debate. Y'all really hate Black women. Black men, look, I'm gay. I'm not looking for y'all, but I'm gonna say it right now. Y'all are so disrespectful. Just so disrespectful to Black women. Let's talk about Megan Thee Stallion. Let us talk about Megan Thee Stallion. I know y'all don't want to hear it. Maybe you've heard it a bunch already, but let's talk about it. Megan Thee Stallion, wonderful rapper. If y'all live under a rock, you haven't heard of her. Megan Thee Stallion is a great rapper. She is a beautiful woman. She is still, I think she's still getting her degree. Like, she's still in school. Like, she is known for being like the college educated, sophisticated sort of girl. And like, we love her. Meg, we love you. She was shot by her, I guess it was her boyfriend, Tory Lanez. He shot her in the foot over some sort of like, something about her talking to another man or something like that. He shot her with a gun. And then subsequently, Twitter exploded, the internet exploded with memes of her trauma. Guys, I'm pissed. I'm so angry because as a Black woman, the joy that people, especially Black men on the internet, have been finding in her pain and in her trauma, her very real trauma, you got me confused with some other hoe. What can we do? Like, what can we do to get the respect that we're deserved? Why are people making fun of the fact that she was shot? She could have died. Like, what? She was shot by a man who was supposed to be there, who cared about her, but he risked her life. And for what? Something stupid. Y'all really hate Black women because and by y'all, I don't know, it's probably you. If you feel upset because I said y'all, if I feel upset because I'm saying the word you, it's probably you. Okay, you probably need to examine yourself because, like, if you have found something funny about the Megan Thee Stallion situation, you are an awful, atrocious person, and I don't want to be associated with that. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like Breonna Taylor and how her murder by police, her unlawful murder by police officers who have not been brought to justice yet. I think only one of them was fired and the other 3 are still on the job and nobody's been convicted, nobody's been charged, nobody's been arrested. What is going on? But like, y'all saw how Breonna Taylor became a meme almost instantly. We haven't seen justice and people are making all sorts of jokes. And like, with the delusion that it is somehow sort of social activism, and it's not. You're not doing anything. What are you doing by sharing a meme about the death of a woman? A woman has died. A life is gone from this world, and that is not funny. That's not funny. And you know, this kind of stuff only happens with Black women. How many names do you know of Black people who have been killed by police violence, and then go back and wonder how many of those are actually women? What, you got Sandra Bland, you got Breonna Taylor, and maybe that's it? Like, there are so many Black women who have been murdered. And there's a TED Talk. I can't remember who is, I think it's Kimberly Crenshaw, who does the TED Talk. I'll link that below. But she really puts this in better words than I could ever try. So I recommend going ahead and watching that and then examining yourself. Because, you know, Black women's pain is seen as just like, people look at us and they assume, whether or not they know it, they internally assume that Black women have a higher pain tolerance than everybody else. I'm mad about the Megan Thee Stallion thing, clearly, right? We're dealing with some sort of like humiliation theater of Black women where something happens to a Black woman and immediately it becomes some form of sick entertainment for the internet and for the world. And it's truly disgusting. It's truly disgusting. We have Megan Thee Stallion breaking down or like trying to hold it together. She lost her mother and her grandmother, I'm pretty sure, within the same year, and it hasn't even been that long. I don't even know if it's been a full year or like 2 since that happened. She has dealt with so much as a human being, and we have treated her so poorly, and it pisses me off. And we would not do this to a white woman. We wouldn't. We would not do this to a white woman. We'd be like, oh my God. Like, it would be big news, right? But like, no. For her, for Meg, for what? Like, we don't care. Like, and it's so frustrating. So it was really important to me when I watched Black is King, the Beyonce visual album yesterday. I watched it and I legitimately was so moved. And I know there are going to be people who have a bunch of different things to say about whether or not it was I don't know. People always got something to say about Beyonce. Look, I remember a lot of people I've seen on Twitter are digging up this whole thing about how Bell Hooks, who is a really popular Black feminist author and thinker and writer and activist and all these different things, fabulous. She said at some point in I think some sort of panel event, she said there are aspects or there are parts of Beyonce that are harmful or terroristic to feminism. And that was like 5 years ago. And I really feel like I still feel the same way. I mean, there are things about Beyonce's presentation, not her as a person, but her presentation is like hyper feminine, beautiful, light skinned. She's got this honey blonde hair thing still going. Like for years, I mean, she was never wearing for years it was just like she's very beautiful and she can dance really well and she's just like she was a big sex symbol. Like it was a whole thing. And recently, she's 180'd her brand and now it's social justice and social activism, and I believe it's authentic. I mean, it comes across as very authentic to me. She lifts up a lot of Black voices, especially Black women of all different types of colors and shades, right? And so, and all different types of ethnicities and nationalities. I am here for Beyonce. I'm a big fan. I'm a casual fan, but I'm a big fan. And so people are coming for bell hooks about how they're like, oh, Beyonce was a terrorist, but what about now? Whatever. Anyway, Black is king. Guys, I'm talking really fast. This is the fastest I've ever talked on this podcast. Maybe it's because of the camera. Maybe it's something else. Regardless, we keep it going. Beyonce is honestly, just looking at Beyonce by herself, it's like a case study on how people view Black women's femininity. And I really want to have an entire episode just on femininity in general and the ideas about Black femininity, trans femininity, what it means to be feminine and all of these different things. But right now we're just going to talk about Beyonce as a case study. Beyonce is the epitome of the ideal feminine Black woman. For years, she wasn't really causing any stir. She wasn't really being particularly angry. She was just attractive and beautiful, and she danced really well, and she sings really well, and she's light-skinned, and she's and then, she married a dark-skinned Black man, and everybody's got something to say about her daughter, who looks like a cute little Black woman who I enjoyed watching have her little moments in Black is King. I am so proud. I'm not related to them in the slightest, but I am so happy to see Blue Ivy growing up to do everything well. I mean, I expect great things. I'm sure she was the one behind the entire production, honestly. Anyway, the way that Beyonce has presented for so many years, I mean, these days, she is, again, 180'd her whole brand and identity, and she has moved into the space of uplifting and empowerment and all these things, feminism. I think it started when she had Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie on her album, quoting a track from We Should All Be Feminists. But Beyonce is the type of Black woman that is accepted in our culture. We are cool with Beyonce's because she is not too Black. She's not too aggressive. She's not too angry. She's just the right amount of fierce, but she still is in a heteronormative sort of situation. She's got 3 kids. She's a mother. She is married to a man. She still fits the mold, no matter how you shake it. But Megan Thee Stallion is a dark-skinned Black woman, and we do not give her the same. And also, she's very openly sexual, and that's another thing. Okay, let me go all the way back. We need to talk about slavery. We need to talk about slavery. We need to talk about slavery. We got to talk about slavery. We always got to talk about slavery. Things always, almost always go back to slavery. Because in slave days, and I was reading this in Angela Davis's Woman, Race, and Class, as well as in, who wrote Feminist Theory? Who wrote Feminist Theory? Put it in the comments if you know. I forgot. But I was reading in these books where Black women during the times of the slave trade were treated exactly the same as Black men a lot of the time. If you weren't working in the house, you were working in the field alongside Black men, right? And you were property just like Black men. And honestly, the I'm not gonna say that there were, it was definitely, I'm not going to make this sort of, I'm not gonna get into that territory of like it was worse to be a Black woman and a slave. Like, I don't know, I was never there and I don't really want to go there. Slavery was awful all around, right? But the experience of a Black woman, the Black enslaved woman, was not only were you brutalized and worked on the fields, but you were also considered some sort of breeding factory, and raped incessantly. So, guys, I'm talking about real life here. So if this is something that is triggering, feel free to skip ahead a little bit and we'll get back into talking about other things. But we as Black women have historically been treated as if we don't feel pain. We don't have trauma. We aren't women. Like, this feminine idea, by the way, femininity is based, especially in the West, femininity is based on white women. The way that white women are perceived as these homemakers and these gentle nurturers or whatever, that is a white supremacist idea of what being feminine means. And Black women have been trying to be forced into this respectability. The whole idea of respectability politics is based off of white femininity. Okay, we'll get there. You know, Black women were brutalized alongside Black men. We were assaulted alongside Black men. We were treated as animals, as worse than animals. And I'm a vegan, so I think that's also awful. I'm getting hyped. I'm getting hot. I'm getting sweaty. I'm glad my air conditioning just cut on. Okay, gosh. Black women were treated the same way as Black men. There was no distinction of gender, because to slave owners, to white people, we were always property. We were not human beings. So, cut to 2020, we are still, I can't jump past the mammy times where we were raising other people's children. But like, and I've talked to several people who have told me that they had, Black nannies when they were growing up that they considered like part of the family. But I think that sort of mindset is like, that's cute. She was being paid to take care of you and to treat you well. And maybe she did have care, like love for you, but she had her own family probably. Like, there are so many of these women who were mammy types. And if you don't know what a mammy is, do the reading. I don't have time to go into it today. But these like mammy types where you have people like in just like real little nice little Black woman who is asexual, and then we have the Jezebel who is the hypersexual, and there are all these different tropes that Black women have been forced to fit into. And then we come to 2020, and if we get angry, we're the angry Black woman. If we're upset about things, we're the angry Black woman. If we're hypersexual, we're the Jezebel. If we aren't sexual, if we're like homemakers, or if you like we're the mammy. The white friends that I have, y'all know I love you. I have lots of love for you. But you can admit to yourself that like I don't think I have a white friend who has not come to me as some sort of like way to like absolve some form of inner white guilt within you. We've had a conversation about it for sure. You've told me about your racist family or conservative like friends and family and how you're having a hard time dealing with it. Some of you have cried in my face about racism, even though it's something that you benefit from. It was very confusing and kind of annoying. We've talked about it. It's cleared up. The air is clear, guys. Okay, just don't come into my DMs doing any more of it, and we're good, okay? But I have found myself in this sort of magical negress space where, I have white people coming to me to like solve their problems about their own white guilt when racism is a white issue, racism is a white disease. This whole idea that femininity, Black women basically, what we've been taught over the years is that Black women cannot be feminine in the same way that white women can. The closer you are to whiteness, the closer you, as a woman, the closer you are to whiteness, the closer you are to femininity and to being cared for and cared about. And that's why we see so many Black women treating dark-skinned Black women. We see so many Black men in media and in the world treating Black women as if they are the same on the same level as black men. They aren't feminine. They should not be cared for. And like, I mean, I guess we can have a conversation about equality, but as a human being, we should not be treating black women the way that we're treating black women. We treat them as subhuman. We treat them as if they are just like, you know, there for like we all have our own inner perceptions of what it means to be a black woman. For years, I held so much anti-blackness towards my fellow black women because I was afraid of black women. I mean, black women do it to ourselves. We have this whole idea of pick-me's where we have people who are just so desperate for the care, like so desperate for the acceptance of black men, of men in general, of people out in the world, of white people, that they will fight against other black women. They will pit themselves against other black women. And for what? For men? For white people? Like, ugh. Like, why would we do this? But we do it to each other. Like, right? We do it with our hair. We do it with the way that we present. We tell each other. We do it with our weight, the way that we are, respectability politics. Like, that is how we all hold this anti-blackness, and we all hold this misogynoir within ourselves, within the black community as a whole thing. And, you know, we express this too towards like trans women and masculine of center women. Like, we can't, like, if a woman wants to dress in traditionally male clothes, like we treat her with less respect as a woman, as if they are less of a woman. If a woman is a trans woman, we know this. We have this transphobia, internalized transphobia and externalized transphobia, switches a light in your brain where you're like, oh, that's not a woman, that's a man, and that is transphobic, and we'll get into it in another episode because I got a lot of things to say about that too. But this whole concept of femininity and being so attached to this idea of white femininity is the reason why you see Breonna Taylor become a meme. All of this is the reason that you see black women being like treated so poorly in media, in music, in all industries, in all levels. No matter how successful they are, people still say racist things about Oprah. People still say sexist things about Viola Davis. Oh, and she is beautiful. And she had the courage to wear her natural 4C hair on red carpets. One of the first people to do it. And, you know, for years, I thought I was unkempt. Like, I fought against this idea. I've always sort of been a rebel in that way, but I've always fought against this idea that I had to fit into this mold of presentation and respectability. And even though my family was telling me that my hair was like unkempt and untamed and I shouldn't wear it like this and I should straighten it or whatever the case may be, like, I held fast to this whole thing. But it was very isolating experience. It was to be a black woman, sometimes it involves like isolating yourself. If you want to be true in that, like in your black womanness, like you have to sometimes shut a lot of things out or build up this wall. So yes, black women are angry. We are tired. We are exhausted of being the brunt of everybody's jokes, of being this whole thing. The whole Bye Felicia thing, it existed because of another sort of assault on a black woman as well. Like, so we learned from the NWA movie, which I didn't see because I don't want to go there. What you need to understand is that black women are not here for you. We are here for ourselves. We are independent human beings. We're not here to make you feel less guilty. We're not here to make you feel good about yourself. We're not here to make you feel comfortable. We're not. Y'all need to start treating black women with the same level of respect that you treat white women. Black women's tears mean nothing. Meg the Stallion is being made fun of at this moment for showing emotion about being shot. I don't know how much I can say that, how many times I can say that before it really sinks in. That is insane. That is cruel. That is sick. That is insane. And we are living in this, it's absurd. It's absurdity at its finest. It's philosophical absurdity. It does not make sense. I'm mad, I'm confused, I'm frustrated, and I love being a Black woman. I would never change it for the world. Do you see this? I mean, you don't if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review and rating. Please leave me your feedback. I think this is a great place to wrap it on up. I have linked a YouTube video. What is this? I was watching a video by Amanda Gordon. I think she goes by Amanda Mariana. Amanda Mariana. Yes. She's a YouTuber, and she made a video, I think like 4 or 5 days ago, called The Quirky, Awkward Black Girl. And it's just a video of her talking about different types of tropes that Black women have been seen in that I got a couple of my inspiration from today. I don't ever want to feel jealous, envious, angry, mad at Black women. Honestly, I want Black women to win. I want Black women to win. I don't really care what Black women are doing. I want Black women to win. I'm so tired of seeing people just like throw all sorts of nonsense at Black women. So I want Black women to win. Here's to Black women winning. Thank you very much. That is the end of the segment. And now we're going to go into the next segment of Thorn Thistle podcast after the break.
Flowers to the people. Yeah. Flowers to the people. Yeah.
All right, we are back, everybody. I'm so sorry for putting on that. What you guys don't know about me is that I like to do weird voices. Here we go. This is your initiation to that. Anyway, you have reached the end of the show and the last segment of the show, which is called Flowers to the People. Flowers to the people. Hey, it is a play on words. If you get it, you get it. If you not, maybe you not. That you maybe you just don't get it. It's not for you. Okay? Today's flower bouquet is going to Kimberly Nicole Foster. If you don't know who Kim is, she is probably my biggest inspiration for starting this podcast and a lot of my blog. I've been following her for several years on YouTube and in her blog, and just sort of her watching her come up and have a bunch of conversations. So Kimberly is the founder and creator of the For Harriet blog and brand. She curates a lot of conversations around Blackness and womanhood. And honestly, she's a millennial, and so like her perspective is really fresh and unique. And I think she brings on a lot of people to have conversations with that sometimes voices that you don't always get to see. She talks a lot about social media and about pop culture as well, and she brings in a lot of these like academic sort of ideas into those conversations as well. I thoroughly enjoy her content, and I definitely think you guys should go check her out. I'll link her stuff in the show notes. But here's a little bit about Kimberly Nicole. I'm going to look over to my notes for y'all on YouTube. So she was born in Oklahoma City, and she got in and attended Harvard for her undergraduate, but she dropped out of the Ivy world to work towards her blog For Harriet when she started realizing that was sort of gaining momentum and that could be a viable option for her. Also, she has an entire video, I think, on this, and I don't actually know if I've seen it, so I should probably go check that out. But definitely check out For Harriet on YouTube, the blog. She's on Instagram. She's on Twitter. And she's been featured in a bunch of things. She's been featured in Ebony. She's been featured in The Week. She's done talks at Cornell University. Like, she planned to quote provide an online community for women of African descent to engage in honest dialogue about the complexities of Black womanhood, and I think she does that perfectly. I honestly feel like you should go ahead and subscribe to her. Subscribe to me, because you can do that now. Subscribe to me, and after you subscribe to me and then you hit the like button on this video for the algorithms, put a comment down for the algorithm about like something that you learned from this, something that you want to see from me in the future. After you've done all of those things, you can go ahead and go to For Harriet's YouTube channel or For Harriet's page and follow her as well. Subscribe to her, send her love, tell her I sent you. And so what else? please support this podcast. I'm not gonna do an outro. In fact, let's just do it now. So basically, I want you guys, if you're listening on the podcast on Spotify or any of those platforms, go ahead and follow or subscribe to the podcast so that you can know when I put out new podcasts. I put out new podcasts every Tuesday at 7 p.m. every week, except for last week because I didn't feel like it. Please share this with your friends, share this with your family, post this on your stories or whatever the case may be, and just share the love. I really want to engage with more and more people and let this thing grow. And I want to create my own little community. You can follow me on Instagram at my_OH_MYAH. That's my oh Myah on Instagram. You can also follow me on at Myah Rose _TNTPOD. That's Myah Rose _TNTPod on Twitter. Thank you guys for joining me on another episode. I'll see you next week. Bye.